clear as the other thing.
Okay, good.
You want to start with USO or start with it?
Are you doing announcements? Or Johnny?
Oh, your mic and it's a flow mic.
Okay.
That's it. But it can be heard through your mic.
Okay. But I can do Okay, so we have everybody. Oh, Just is the only one. Teasing. Okay, welcome everybody. It's just 2 o'clock and as announced, we will be beginning the ordination. We'll begin by paying respects to the shrine together. Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Saṅgho Saṅghang Namāmi. Annamayang Buddhasa Bhagavato Pupapākanamakalang Karomase. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Okay, just welcome everyone. Um, Today is the ordination day for Seminary Yasa, and it's the culmination of 9 days of Dhamma. It's the recollecting or acknowledging, commemorating the 25 years of Abhayagiri, and the honoring our teachers, our elders. It's also today is the anniversary of Ajahn Chah's birth, his birthday, and so it has many auspicious things taking place, and so we'd just like to extend a warm welcome to everyone, all those who are physically here at the monastery and those who are joining through the Zoom and YouTube, the online presence. Before we begin the actual, say, ordination ceremonies, and there is a say a duty to perform, and that is say an acknowledging or a offering of a title to Ajahn Yaniko, the abbot of Abhayagiri, and this is for the Thai people. It's somewhat familiar. For everybody else, it's big question mark. What the heck is this, and what's going on? But in Thailand, there are titles that are bestowed on Sangha members who have or they're in positions of responsibility or have performed service to the religion, and be given can be given a title. It's not necessarily so, and I have been given a title by the king, and part of that title is also I can designate, say, like an assistant or assistants and my title is called like a Jiao Kun title, and then the assistants are a Praku title, and so that I received that title almost 2 years ago, and then well, sometimes it is necessary to have a representative of Abhayagiri in some formal ceremonies, and so that Ajahn Yaniko, in the position of abbot, is a suitable person to take that on, and so that Ajahn Mahaprasad came yesterday, and he spent the last few months, I think, organizing there's like a fan, which is like an insignia of the title. There's like a proclamation, royal proclamation, which Apple will actually read, and then there's a formal set of robes that should be offered to Ajahn Yaniko. So I will invite Ajahn Yaniko to come and sit in front, and then we can a few years ago, Ajahn Kurundammo was also given a title because he needed to, take my place, and Ajahn Mahaprasad organized it quite quickly, and but now I've got a new title. It's still very complicated, and I don't really understand it myself. But I think it's as both for our community and our extended community to recognize that Ajahn Yaniko has been taking on responsibilities, will continue to take on responsibilities, and there will be times when he will need to be a representative of the monastery and myself, and so that to have a formal title, in particular if they are royal ceremonies, so then it's to have this is very helpful. So, so we'll invite Apple to make the formal announcement, and it's going to be in Thai, but it is as I say, it's like a royal proclamation, and is given say in the name of the king, but then it's through through myself as having a royal title, and then acknowledging the duties that are incumbent on that.
Do we have her introduction when she's doing it?
No.
Does the Sangha know that they'll join you with the chanting?
I announced it.
Yeah, announced it. Yeah. Okay. So, and then once we do the announcement, then the Sangha will chant Jayanto, which is a blessing chant, and then while the Jayanto is being chanted, then I will formally give these things to Ajahn Yanko, and then we'll move them over to here. Okay.
กราบใต้ฝ่าละอองธุลีพระบาทข้าพเจ้านางสาวชุติธรดาวเรืองขอกราบพระราชทานพระบรมราชานุญาตโปรดเกล้าโปรดกระหม่อมกล่าวพระราชโองการจากพระบาทสมเด็จพระวชิรเกล้าเจ้าอยู่หัวควรมิควรแล้วแต่จะโปรดพระบาทสมเด็จพระปรมินทรรามาธิบดีศรีสินธารมหาวชิราลงกรณ์มหิศรภูมิพลราชวรางกูลกิตติสิริสมบูรณ์ณอดุลยเดชสยามมินทราธิเบศรราชวโรดมบรมนาถบพิตรพระวชิรเกล้าเจ้าอยู่หัวผู้ทรงพระคุณอันประเสริฐมีพระบรมราชโองการประกาศณวันที่ 28 กรกฎาคม พุทธศักราช 2562 โปรดพระราชทานเลื่อนสมณศักดิ์พระโพธิญาณวิเทศเป็นพระราชาคณะชั้นราชที่พระราชโพธิวิเทศมีฐานานุศักดิ์ตั้งฐานานุกรมได้4 รูปนั้นจึงแต่งตั้งให้พระอธิการลีฟช ฉายายานิโกนามสกุลออบอมอายุ40พรรษา18วิทยาฐานะมัธยมปลายไฮสคูลวัดอภัยคีรีตำบลเรดวูดวัลเลย์อำเภอเมนซิโนคันทรีแคลิฟอร์เนีย USA ดำรงตำแหน่งฐานานุกรมที่พระครูปลัดขอพระครูปลัดลีฟยานิโกจงเว้นการควรเว้นประพฤติการควรประพฤติปฏิบัติตนให้สมกับฐานานุสัยที่ได้รับแต่งตั้งนี้ขอจงเจริญสุขสวัสดิ์ในพระพุทธศาสนาตลอดกาลนานเชิญแต่งตั้งณวันที่ 17 เดือนมิถุนายน พุทธศักราช 2564 พระราชโพธิวิเทศประธานสงฆ์วัดอภัยคีรีสหรัฐอเมริกา
Chayanto
Bodhiyamule Satyananda Divadano Evam Tavam Vijayo Vijaya Suchaya Mangale Aparajita Palanke Sise Patavipokare Abhiseke Sababodhana Agapato Pamodati Sunakatam Sumangalam Supabhatam Suhuditam Sukano Sumuhoto Chasuyitam Brahmachari Supadakina Kaya Kamam
Vaya kammang manakinang manakinang mano kammang manidite pandakina pandakina nikatwana labandhate pandakine. Okay, so we could, before we begin the ceremony proper, it would be nice to do some Prita chanting, these traditional blessing chants and protection chants that see coming together on an occasion such as an ordination, being within normally in a, say like a traditional monastery, there'd be, especially in more ancient times or even modern times, there would be a designated place, a boundary for for formal acts of the Sangha, and an ordination is definitely a formal act of the Sangha, and we will designate this space, and then we will do the chanting to invite forces of goodness, devas, any beings, material and immaterial, to come and bring their blessings on the occasion. imagine Kurunamo to call the Devas.
Aritvanamehtam sameheta varanda Avekita citta paritam manandu Sage kame charupe girisikarate chantalike vimane Diperate chagame taruanagahane gehavatunikete Ummachayandu deva jalatala visameyaka gandhabanaga Titanda sanjike yamuni varavachanam sadhava me sunandu Buddha dasana kalo ayam baranda Dhamma savana kalo ayam baranda Sangha payutasana kalo Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa iti piso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho vicacarana sampanno sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisa dhamma sarati sata deva manusanam buddho bhagavati savakato bhagavata dhammo sandetiko akaliko ehipasiko hopanayiko vachatang veditang vo vinyuhi Tisupatipanno bhagavato sāvaka sangho Hujupatipanno bhagavato sāvaka sangho Nyāyapatipanno bhagavato sāvaka sangho Samicipatipanno bhagavato sāvaka sangho Yadidang yadhari purisayukani yata purisa pogala esa bhagavato sāvaka sangho ahuneyo pahuneyo dhakineyo anjali karaniyo anutaram bunya ketang lokasati sevana jambala nang mandita nanja sevana puja japujaniyanam etam mangalamutamam matirupande salvaso cakume cakata punyata atasamma panihica etam mangalamutamam ahusa canja se panja venayo jasuse gindo sumbasita jaya vaca etam mangalamutamam mata pitu patanam bhutanda rasa sangho anakula cakamanda etam mangalamutamam dananja dhammacharya Janyatakananja sangho Anavacani kammani etam mangalamutamam arati vilati papa majapana jasanyamo apamado jadamme suetam mangalamutamam aravo janivato jasanduti jagatanyuta kale dhamma savanang eta
ตังมังคลมุตตมังกันติจะโสวจาสดาสมนานันจะดาสนังหาเลนะธัมมสาคาจาเอตังมังคลมุตตมังตโพจะพรหมจริยัญจะหริยสัจจานดาสนังนิพพานสัจกิริยาจะเอตัมมังคลมุตตมังพุทธาสโลกดัมเมหิเจตังยาสนะคัมปติยโสกังเวรจังเขมังเอตัมมังคลมุตตมังเอตาติสานิคาทวานสัมมาตมปราชิตาสัมมาตโสติงกาชันติทันเตสัมมังคลมุตตมันเตคลนิยมาตกุสเลนยันตังสันตังบารังอภิสเมจะสาโกอุจุจะสุอุจุจะสุวโจจะสัมมุดุอนัติมานิสันตุสโกจะสุบาโรจะอาปะเกโชจะสาลาหุกวุติสันตินริโยจะนิปโกจะอาปะกาโบกุเลสุวรรณานุเกโกนะจักขุนดังสัมมาจะเรคิงเยเยนะเวนโยภะเรภุภวะเดยงสุขิโนวาเกมิโนหุนตุสัพเพสัตตาภวันตุสุขิตาตาเยเกชิปานพุทธาติตัสสาวาทาวราวาหันวเสสะทิกาวาเยมหันตาวามาชิมาราสกาหนุกตุลาดิตาวาเยชะดิตาเยชะดุเลวสันเดอวิดุเลพุทธาวาสัมภเวสีวาสาเบสัตตาภวันตุสุขิตาตานปโลปรังนิกุมเบทนาติมันเยตกาตตินังคิชิบยาโรสนาปฏิกสัญญานัญญมัญญาสดุกมิเจยมาตายตานิยังพุทธังอายุสาเอกพุทธมนุลาเกเอวัมปิสาภพุเทสุมาณสัมบาวะเยอภริมาณังเอทัญญสาบโลกัสมิงมาณสัมบาวะเยอภริมาณังโอดังอโดจเตริยัญจะสัมบาดังนเวรังสปาทังเดทัญจรังนิสิงโนวาสยานโนวายาวัฏาสวิกตัมมิโตเอตังสติคติเตยบรมเมตังวิหารังนิดมาหุเดติญญานุปกังนสีลวาดาสเนนสัมมาโนคาเมสเวเนยเกตังนาหิจาดุกาปเสยังบุญเลเตเตดุกาปัตตาจนิดุกาปยาปัตตาชนิปายาโสกาปัตตาจนิโสกาหุนตุสาเบติปานิโนเอตาวตาจัมเมหิสัมปดังบุญญสัมปดังสาเบเดวะอนุโมดันตุสาบสัมปาติเสดิยาดานังดันตุสาดายสีลังราคันตุสาบดาภาวนาบิรตาโหตุกาชันตุเทวตากตาสาเบบุญดาบาลาปัตตาปาเชกานันชยังบาลังอรหันดานันชเทเจนรักขังวันดามิสาบาโสสามบุญดานุบาเวนัสสาบดัมมานุบาเวนัสสาบสังฆานุบาเวนะบุญดารัตนังดังมรัตนังสังฆรัตนังทีนังรัตนานังอานุบาเวนะจตุราเสติสหัสดัมมาคันดานุบา เวนะปิตคัตตยานุภาเวนะจินสาวกานุภาเวนะสาเบเทโรกาสาเบเทวายาสาเบเทอันตรายาสาเบเทอุปาดวาสาเบเทดุลิมิตาสัมเมเทอวมังกลาเวนาสันตุวายุวาตโกดันวาตโกสิริวาตโกยัสวาตโกบัลวาตโกวันนวาตโกสุขวาตโกโหตุสัพพตาทุกขโรกัลยาเวนะโสกาสาตุจุปาตวะอเนกาหันตรายาติวินาสันตุจเตจัสสะจยสิริธนังลามังโสติภาคยังสุขังบาลังสิริอายุจวันโนจะโภกังวุติจยสวาสตวาสาจะอายุจะชีวสิทธิภวันตุเทภวตุสาบมังกลังราคันตุสาลเดวตาสาบบุตตานุมาเวนัสกาโสติภวันตุเทภวตุสาบมังกลังราคันตุสาลเดวตาสาบดัมมานุมาเวนัสกาโสติภวันตุเทภวตุสาบมังกลังราคันตุสาลเดวตาสาบสังฆานุภาเวนัสตาโสติภาวันตุเท Okay, so I invite Seminary Yasa to come take his place on the outside of the boundary. That outside the boundary, inside the boundary will make sense a little bit later, because it's in this ordination ceremony. One of the things that is required is for the chanting acharyas to question the candidate as to his suitability, and he will, and this whole ordination procedure is quite, dates back to the procedures and the chanting and the format goes back pretty much to the time of the Buddha, and is in our Vinaya text, the text on the books of the discipline, and at the way that all the various rules and protocols came about was that when there was an occasion or circumstance that the Buddha felt needed to be addressed, then he would formulate a rule or formulate a procedure, and then it was over, because the Buddha taught for 45 years, and so over a period of 45 years, and the whole structure of rules and protocols and procedures came about, and one of the circumstances was they would question candidate as to the appropriateness, and then a candidate, they would do it inside the midst of the of the community in the midst of the Sangha. And the candidate got very flustered and couldn't think straight. So then the Buddha said, well, before bringing the candidate into the midst of the Sangha, do the questioning outside the boundary, sort of away from the community, so that get them familiar and get them comfortable, and then bring them in. Yasuda is very comfortable, so and the way we do it, of course, there's a lot of practice and training, and people are very familiar. By the time it gets to the actual ordination, the candidates are very familiar with what's going to happen. Nothing will come out of left field and surprise him. So that he is sort of seated away, and then what happens now is that the chanting acharyas, there are two chanting acharyas, and the chanting acharya who will, the next thing is to actually for the candidate to retake the novice precepts, so that those are fresh and have been renewed prior to the actual procedure for the Bhikkhu ordination, and so that this next part will be Samanera novice Yasa requesting the refuges and precepts, and then Ajñāniko as the chanting acharya will go back and do the re-establishing of the seminary precepts. So you can go ahead begin by
Okasa vandami bante sabang aparadang kamatame bante maya katang punyang samina hanumoditabang samina katang punyang mayhang databang sadhu sadhu anumodami Okasa karunyang katawa tisaranena saha silani detame bante.
So that chant, that Samanera Yasa is chanted it'll come up a few times through the ordination, and it is a formal offering of respects and asking forgiveness and asking to dedicate whatever goodness has been accumulated by me, to share that and to partake in the goodness of the elder. The tray of candles, incense, flowers, these are the traditional offerings of respect.
Ahang bante sarana silang yachami. Dutiyang pi ahang bante sarana silang yachami. Tatiyang pi ahang bante sarana silang yachami.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa.
Yamahang vadami tang vadehi.
Okasaham bante.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Ti sarana kamanang nititang.
Okasaham bante.
Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Adinadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Adinadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Abrahmacharya veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Brahmacharya veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Musawada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Musawada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Surameraya majapamadatthana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Surameraya majapamadatthana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Vikalabhojana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Vikalabhojana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Nacha gita varita visukkadasana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Nacha gita varita visukkadasana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Mala gandha vilepana dharana mandana vibhusanatana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Mala gandha vilepana dharana mandana vibhusanatana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Uchasayana mahasayana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Uchasayana mahasayana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Jata rupa rajatapati kahana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Jata rupa rajatapati kahana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Imani dasa sikkhapadani samadhiyami.
Okasaham bante. Imani dasa sikkhapadani samadhiyami. Imani dasa sikkhapadani samadhiyami. Imani dasa sikkhapadani samadhiyami.
Something else. Okay, could you grab that mat and make it disappear? There we go.
Leave that seat there. Would you get that?
In the space.
There we go. Thank you. Okay, so having completed the precepts, we could invite family members to come forward and offer the requisite family supporters and offer the alms bowl, and this is the basically, along with our robe, this is one of the main symbols of our living the holy life. So it's, father and stepfather have made the effort to come up, and then Yes's father will offer the robes, Kati, all of these, and then Debbie will make an offering of the candles, incense, flowers, which are the offering which he will make to the preceptor. And so that these are the basics, or the bottom line of our needs for living our life within within Buddhist practice, Buddhist monastic form. And so having our alms bowl, that's it is of course, it's both a symbol, but it's also, I mean, it really is, that's how we receive our food, it's what we eat in. When we travel, we can use it as a little suitcase, and put our robes in, keep them dry, and I've done that before, like living out in the forest, and getting caught in the rain or under an umbrella and mosquito net, but it's wind's ripping around. But these, and most things got soaked, but everything that was in the bowl was dry. So it's something dry in the morning to wear. That's our part of our requisites, and is also a symbol of how we live. Ajahn Chah once said that in Thailand the bowl is called a baht, and in Pali it's patta, but in Thai it's a baht. So that, but then also the currency that's used in Thailand is also a baht. And he said, the Buddha provided for us all of our needs, all of our nutritional needs, material needs, by just giving us 1 baht. So just as if it was sort of, just by getting $1, you're able to live for forever. But it's been this alms bowl is it's a symbol of how how we live, and it's that recognition of also that we rely on the offerings and the goodwill of others, and so these robes and bowl are a symbol of our living of the monastic life, the holy life, and it is it both by giving oneself to that form, one is able to live a skillful life, but also in order for that life to bear fruit, then one has to pick up those symbols and learn how to skillfully live within that form. You go anywhere in, say, out of the monastery, everybody, especially if you go into Ukiah, they know you come from a Bhikkhu. There's not many of us around, so so there's a certain responsibility as well of keeping the form and using the form as the Buddha laid down. So and that's certainly part of the training before one even takes the robes. There's a couple years of training, at least a couple years before one does fully take on the training, and it gives an opportunity to learn what are the rules of the monastic form, what are the duties, what are the responsibilities, how do I use this skillfully, do I actually want to do it, and do the people I'm living with actually, do they support it? So then that's over time, and it's this kind of trust or confidence has been. So Yasna has gained the kind of confidence to take on the training and to commit to this form, so that we will continue with the procedure. If somebody could put his Sangati on, and that will get him ready. These, of course, the robes have been sewed by Gyasa in preparation for today. And did the we're only going to tie his robes on for him just this one day. He's on his own after this. There's enough happening already, so they keep the robes from falling off during the ceremony is a good thing. very nice. Over the years of Abhayagiri, we had some strange knots tied in. Okay, Samana Yasa, you can come forward. That's probably good right there.
Okasa vandami bante sabang aparadam kamatame bante maya katang punyam samina hanumoditabam samina katang punyam mayam databam sadhu sadhu anumodami Okasa karunyam katawa nisayam dekame bante.
Okay, so you can come forward into the midst of the Sangha with your tray of offerings, your bowl. Set it down. Offer the tray of offerings first. Offer the bowl. Then you can request the Nisayan, requesting dependence.
Aham bante nisayanya chami dutiyam piyaham bante nisayanya chami tatiyam piyaham bante nisayanya chami upajayo me bante hohi upajayo me bante hohi upajayo me bante hohi
Opayikam
Okasa sampatichami
patik-rupang
Okasa sampatichami
pasadikena sambhadehi
Okasa sampatichami Ajatege dani tero Mai hambaro Aham pitera sabaro Ajatege dani tero Mai hambaro Aham pitera sabaro Ajatege dani tero Mai hambaro Aham pitera sabaro.
You can sit comfortably. Okay, so you are requesting, of course, one of the first things to do in this process of the ordination procedure is to ask for nisaya, asking for dependence, and that asking for dependence is an important aspect of training, because it's, in order to train, we actually have to live in dependence on others, teachers, mentors, those who we share the holy life with, share our monastic life with. And the ceremony is asking for dependence from me, which is formal, but the reality is that in requesting dependence, one is taking dependence on me, but then taking dependence on the teachers, your chanting acharyas, Ajahn Kurunamo, Ajahn Yaniko, the abbot, Ajahn Yaniko, the senior elders that are here, and your fellow monastics who live together, because it's actually why there is or how this whole ceremony is structured is it's not, say, like me giving ordination. It is the Sangha giving ordination. So it is a community taking on the responsibility and duty of introducing and training a person on how to live this monastic form. And so that throughout this ceremony, it is like these various announcements and that's all to say the reality is it's the Sangha is the community is your who you're really taking dependence on, and also just the actual the Pali word for the ordination it's called upasampada, and what that means is, say, acceptance, full acceptance into the community. So it's so that being accepted, taken on as a person who is training and living this way of life. So, but the taking of dependence is a important principle, because it's we don't say none of this is ordinary. It's not how people ordinarily live, and the way that the Buddha structured this lifestyle, structured the training, structured the teaching. One needs to be introduced to it, encouraged, admonished, given kind of feedback and support in different ways. Because it's not, it's certainly not how people ordinarily live in the world. And when one does sort of take dependence and live within a community, then we get to learn from each other, and that's it was a few days ago. I was recounting my own experience. One of the days of teaching, I was recounting my own experience that when I ordained as a monk, I had no idea what I was doing. I was given ordination very quickly, and then even after I ordained, I still didn't know what the heck I was doing, and that it's problematic. So that because this it really does take time to, not just on a say on a rational or intellectual level of knowing this rule or that rule, but it's how do you live it? How do you incorporate it into your being? What are the implications of it? How to work with it skillfully? So that takes time. And that's why Ajahn Chah was very, he would use the period of the Anagarika training in white for a period of time, about a year, and then and it wasn't fixed. Same with say the novice ordinations were about a year, but wasn't fixed. It's hard to pin Ajahn Chah down sometimes, and I remember there was a group of novices that, gosh, they waited for a long time before they were given their Bhikkhu ordination. And then even when they were a group of Westerners, and then even when they did the ordination, and they'd been there the longest, and then Ajahn Chah ordained the last, so that they were the last ones who ordained, so they were the most junior monks, even when they finally ordained, and they're mostly older than the rest, and had been around longer. Ajahn Chah he could be pretty ferocious sometimes in his willingness to train us, and even if we didn't want to be trained. So it was. But this, and I remember one time talking with a very senior monk, disciple of Ajahn Mun, Ajahn Sao in particular, Lumpur Phut. And Lumpur Phut saying that this is the way that the Buddha himself trained his students, disciples, and this taking of dependence and living in dependence for extensive period of time. Say by Vinaya, it's say 5 years. He said that's something that is being lost. He was speaking in the past. It is being lost, and Ajahn Chah is one of the few monks who's willing to do that, because he said he had tremendous respect for Ajahn Chah and Ajahn Chah's commitment to training, and that's because that's how when we think of how we learn, we learn through our actions, by the things that we do, and oftentimes for just because we read something or even know some of the details of the facts, it doesn't mean we've actually learned it. It has to be internalized. And so certainly the teachings of the Buddha, the training of the Buddha, It takes time to fully internalize it, and this is one of the qualities that the Buddha speaks about in terms of the nature of Dhamma is open-aiko. It's leading inwards. It has to be drawn inwards. So it has to be brought into the heart. Can't be left as either a vague or even an clear, intelligent concept. If it's just on a conceptual level, it's not going to transform us. It has to be brought into the heart and deeply realized, so that this giving oneself to the training, giving oneself to dependence, and then certainly as having taken dependence, and also to this is it is also your, how do you say, it's like a duty to be in dependence, but it's also a part of the dependence is also the opportunity, availability of the, say, preceptor and teacher and sangha to be there for you and to be available to guide or to give encouragement or to clear up doubts, clear up difficulties that you have, so that not to don't hold back in training yourself, and don't hold back in seeking guidance and seeking support. This is as you well know, this is a long-term project, and it's something to keep refining and keep internalizing. So the actual ceremony today, of course, we're follow the format and procedures as they're laid out in the books of discipline, and it will be done in the Pali language, and I will you'll be questioned by the chanting acharyas as to the various aspects of your say obstacles that you have, whether you have them, and then to properly say that, no, I don't have those, or the things which are required of you, and to formally say, yes, I'm fine with those. And you'll also be asked what your name is in the ceremony, and they'll ask you ki na mosi. Of course, your name is Yasa, but in the, say, Pali declension, in the questioning, you will answer ahang bante yaso nama. They'll also ask you what the name of the upajjhaya is, and of course that is me, Pasanno. They'll ask ko namate upajjhayo, and you should answer upajjhayo me bante vayasama pasanno nama. And the next thing that is the part of the ceremony is the formal designating of your or giving you your bowl and robes, pointing them out to you. So you could come forward and receive your bowl. And then I will point them out to you. Attamang upajjangaha petambo upajjangaha petwa pattajivaranga chikitabang ayante patho
Amabante.
ayang sanghate
Amabante.
ayang uttara sangho
Amabante.
ayang antaravasako
Amabante.
gachamum hiokase titahi. Okay, so that means go back and stand over there, behind that mat. So that those are the main robes are what he's got over his shoulder is it's called a sangati. It's a double thickness robe, and then the outer robe is called the Uttara Sangha, and then the lower robe is the Antravasaka, and his bowl is the Patta, and so that these are the main requisites. And next thing is the chanting acharyas will go out to. Go ahead. Yep.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
And now the chanting acharyas will make an announcement to the Sangha saying that they will go out to question the candidate.
Sunatu me bande sangho yaso ayasamato pasana sa upasampara peko yari sangasa patakalam aham yasang anusaseyam. Sunasiyasa ayante sachakalo buddhakalo yang jatam tang sanghamate pujante santang atite vatapam asantang atite vatapam mako itasi mako manku ahosi evam tang puji santi santi te eva rupa abada kutam
Nati bante.
gando
Nati bante.
kilaso
Nati bante.
so
Nati bante.
papamaro
Nati bante.
manusosi
Amabante.
purisosi
Amabante.
pujisosi
Amabante.
ananosi
Amabante.
nasirajapato
Amabante.
anunyatosi mata pituhi
Amabante.
paripurna visati vasosi
Amabante.
paripunam te pata jivaram
Amabante.
Kinamosi
Ahang bante yaso nama
Ko namate upachayo
upajayo me bante ayasama pasanno nama.
Okay, so now the chanting acharyas will make a formal announcement that their questioning outside the boundary has been completed.
Sunatu me bante sangho yaso ayasamato pasana sa upasampada peko anusito somaya yari sanghasa patakalang yaso agacheya agachahi.
Okay, which means come in or come here. Right about there is perfect. Okay, now the seminary yasa will make a formal request to the Sangha for his upasampada, his acceptance, and it says, may the Sangha out of sympathy lift me up, which is another way that upasampada is sort of lifting up or raising up into the Sangha. Go ahead.
Sangham bante upasampadang yachami ulum patumang bante sangho anukampam upadaya tutiyampi bante sangham upasampadang yachami ulum patumang bante sangho anukampam upadaya tutiyampi bante sangham upasampadang yachami ulum patumang bante sangho anukampam upadaya.
So you remain kneeling there, and then I will inform the Sangha of your sort of request and sort of advocate for you for the Sangha to accept you as a candidate. Yedani ko avoso yaso nama Yedani ko avoso ayang yaso nama samanero mama upasambara peko upasambadang akankhamano sanghang yajati ahang sambabimang sanghang ajesami sadvavoso saboyang sanghoimang yasang nama samanerang antaraya ke dhamme pujitva tatapata kalatan yatawa nyati chatutena kamena akupena thana rahena upasambhade mate kama sanithanang kaloto.
Sadhu.
Okay, so then you can come up into the midst of the Sangha, up onto the cushion there. There we go. And then you can, the chanting acharyas will make an announcement that they will question the candidate in the midst of the Sangha.
Sunatu me bande sangho ayam yaso ayasamato pasana sa upasampada peko yari sangha sapatakalam aham yasang antaraike dame pucheyam. Sunasiyasa ayante sajakalo bhutakalo yang jatang tang puchami santang atiti watabang asantang atiti watabang santi te deva rupa abada kutam
Nati bante,
gando
nati bante,
kilaso
nati bante,
soso
nati bante,
papamaro
nati bante,
manusosi
ama bante,
purisosi
ama bante,
pujisosi
ama bante,
ananosi
ama bante,
nasi rajabato
ama bante,
anunyatosi mata pituhi
ama bante,
paripunavi sativasosi
ama bante,
paripunante patachivaram
ama bante,
kinamosi
ahang bante, yaso nama,
ko namate upachayo
upajayo me bante ayasama pasano nama.
Okay, so you could sit comfortably. And the next thing that will happen is the chanting acharyas will make the formal motion and 3 announcements to the Sangha. And this is a good example of how the governance of the Sangha is, and as of course it's been sort of illustrated all the way along, but it's more like, okay, this is what's happening. There's this candidate, and there's a preceptor, and he is free of obstacles. He's got his robes and his bowl complete, and he's asking for the ordination. And if the community is ready and willing, may the Sangha give the acceptance to this candidate with this preceptor. This is a motion, and then it's sort of like it's repeated as announcements, and it's at the end of those. Okay, this is a motion, 3 announcements. Is everybody in agreement? It seems to be in agreement. If it really is, then may the Sangha remain silent, and this is it. This is so. So it's like there is a consensus process that the Buddha laid down as an act of how to govern the community, govern the Sangha. And it wasn't, say, investing one person with absolute authority, and there they they are the grand king and ruler, and everybody has to follow them. It doesn't work like that. It is the whole ethos of how the Buddha laid out the governance of the Sangha was through that sense of communication, consensus, communal agreement, and then people taking responsibility for that, and so that is a great illustration of how that principle plays itself out and is exemplified, so that in the time of the Buddha, mean, there were different models of governance, and sort of both from, say, like in terms of the country, and just like having kings and say authority figures who ruled on their own, and then there were others that ruled. There were that ruled by consensus, by agreement, and so the Buddha, I think, obviously preferred this model as a governance for the Sangha, and and that say even with but within the say within the society, the Buddha was sometimes asked for advice as to for kings, and the Buddha sort of gave advice. Okay, what is a good king? What does a good absolute ruler do? What's their responsibility? It was never because there's always the way that the Buddha taught it. There's always mutual duties and responsibilities, and that is a reality of human relationships, and so the same with in terms of the having a governance by consensus, and so that these are there is a time of dependence. There's people who take responsibility. Everybody is involved in the process. Say, like in a community, if you have an ordination and you have a group of people living in a monastery, then it requires everybody to be there in order for a valid act of the Sangha to be passed. If everybody's not there, then it's not a valid act of the Sangha. So that it's the Buddha, again, the sense of the Buddha said this communal responsibility and a communal agreement has to be worked out to when there are things that affect the whole community. So it's a really important principle. And this sense of the kind of mutual duties, mutual responsibilities. What comes to mind is like yesterday when when Lompa Mahaprasad came to visit us, and it is one of the formal ways of paying respects to a senior monk is using a formula that we recite, which is an asking of forgiveness, and we use it as a formal way of paying respects. We use it when we take leave after having been in a monastery for a while, or something actually comes up, and we use that formula for asking for forgiveness, But it's interesting that the act of asking for forgiveness is one by say like yesterday by us, but then, or if it were, say, individuals, to be somebody asking forgiveness of teacher or somebody else. But the way, the procedure is also, say, like we asked forgiveness from Ajahn Mahaprasad. Ajahn Mahaprasad then responds by, yes, I give my forgiveness, may you also forgive me. And so the sense of mutual kind of acknowledgement, and mutual forgiveness, because living together as human beings is tough, and knowing how to both encourage, support, but also to forgive and to be able to mutually give that as a sharing. So it's similarly just say like the asking of dependence is similarly there's the sense of mutual duties, mutual responsibilities, mutual kind of ways that we both encourage and support and admonish and correct each other. And if it's used skillfully, it's a really balanced system. Because it's how do you say? It doesn't say power doesn't flow one way. It has to go both ways. And in the same way, it's like in our Vinaya, there are protocols for looking after the preceptor, looking after the teacher, and then there's protocols for how the teacher looks after the student, how the teacher looks after the disciple, and part of those duties and responsibilities, say, of the student to the teacher, is that if the teacher's misbehaving, the student has a responsibility of bringing it to the knowledge of the teacher. And then also, and again, the Buddha is very practical. If it feels awkward or difficult, then you ask for somebody to mediate. And so it's the Buddha. He understood human nature so well, and gave us these tools, not just for how to meditate and realize Nibbana, which is a good thing, but how to live together, and how to keep a life of kind of beauty and skillfulness front and center. As I say, this is a taking on monastic form, taking on monastic training. It's a long-term project, and it takes time to gain the skill and the confidence, and to reap the fruits. And so we reap the fruits of it. Some things it becomes immediately apparent, and it's absolute delight, and some things take a while to sort of get a sense, okay, that's how that works. So anyway, the next thing is the motion and the 3 announcements, which actually is the formal ordination.
Sunatu me bande sangho ayang yaso ayasamato pasana sa upasampara peko parisudo antaraike idamehi paripurnasa patachivaram yaso sanghang upasampadang yachati ayasamata pasamena upajayena
Yadi.
Sangasa patakalam sangho yasang upasampadeya ayasamata pasanena upachayena esanyati sunatu me bante sango ayang yaso ayasamato pasanasa upasampada peko parisuddho antaraike hidamehi paripurna sapata chivarang yaso sangang upasampadang yachati ayasamata pasanena upachayena sangho yasang upasampadeti ayasamata pasanena upachayena yasa yasamato kamati yasa sa upasampada ayasamata pasanena upachayena sotunhasa yasana kamati sobaseya dutiyampi vetamatang vadami sunatu me bante sango ayang yaso ayasamato pasanasa upasampada peko parisuddho antaraike hidamehi paripurna sapata chivarang yaso sangang upasampadang yachati ayasamata pasanena upachayena sangho yasang upasampadeti ayasamata pasanena upachayena yasa yasamato kamati yasa sa upasampada ayasamata pasanena upachayena sotunhasa yasana kamati sobaseya tatiyampi etamatang vadami sunatu me bante sango ayang yaso ayasamato pasanasa upasampada peko parisuddho antaraike hidamehi paripurna sapata chivarang yaso sangang upasampadang yachati ayasamata pasanena upachayena sangho yasang upasampadeti ayasamata pasanena upachayena yasa yasamato kamati yasa sa upasampada ayasamata pasanena upachayena sotunhasa yasana kamati sobaseya upasampano samhena yaso ayasamata pasanena upachayena kamati sangasa tasamatunhi evametang darayami.
Sadhu. Okay, Bhikkhu Yasa. Okay, you take your bowl off and then sit comfortably. The next part of the procedure is the newly ordained bhikkhu being or receiving their instruction from the preceptor. Preceptor is required again. So the Buddha made it a part of the rules of discipline that the preceptor has to give the new bhikkhu instruction on the four requisites, the alms food, robes, the shelter, dwelling place, and then medicines for when one is sick. Those are the 4 fundamental requisites for the life, and then there's 4 rules in the discipline that are kind of non-negotiable. If one transgresses them, then one is immediately not a bhikkhu. So that it's important to clarify these. One is sexual intercourse, stealing, taking the life of a human being, and kind of lying, a special form of lying about spiritual attainments. And so that these are if I as the preceptor neglect to do that, if it doesn't happen before the next dawn, then I incur as a monastic offense. So it's a duty that I need to perform, and because it's a part of the say training and beginning this venture of living the life of a bhikkhu, then it's usually done sort of immediately after the motion and 3 announcements have done. It'll be done in Pali, and in actual fact, Ajahn Yaniko has already sat down and clarified these things, and over the past years, Yasa has been in on all of the instructions for the discipline and the training and the protocols and the lifestyle, so that he's well informed. But it's important to not make not cut corners, and we will do the instruction. It'll be done in Pali, it's just is again this pointing out of the fundamental requisites of life. We rely on what is offered, and when we rely on what is offered, then there's a certain contentment that is engendered or is helpful to pay attention to. That the simplicity of our lifestyle is such that we really can live our life dependent on what is offered to us. There's many of the monks here have gone kind of wandering and with their alms bowls and their robes, and both in say here in America, in Thailand, in India, and there's something about this form that is just certain. It's like an archetype where the religious seeker is an archetype that resonates with many human beings, and having that form where we live simply on what is offered in terms of food. We live simply on the robe material that we say we know how to make, we know how to look after, and we know how to patch it to keep it going. I mean, today these are brand new spiffy robes, but they will they'll start to get holes in them after a while, and tear them. I remember I had to. It was when I went on. I did a period of kind of sabbatical when I stepped down from being the abbot, and I was offered this very nice set of robes, and had the underrobe was when I was in Thailand, and shortly after being in Thailand, that I went to Birken Forest Monastery in British Columbia to stay, and was in retreat there for 6 months, and it took me almost no time whatsoever to crawl over a barbed wire fence and put a hole in my robes. But then you know, okay, it's a whole new robes, and you know how to patch it, you know, look after it, and it's no big deal, and that's what one does. One looks after the cloth that one's been given as robes, and our dwelling place that we have. We're able to live here in the forest with actually very comfortable dwelling places, but also some of the monks are living outside under the trees in the forest. In the monastic discipline, we can just stay out under the root of a tree and until, except during the rainy season, when the weather is really not very supportive of that. But even still, it's just having simple dwelling places. Of course, simple dwelling places in California are not so easy. I mean, not so easy, it's kind of illegal. They require us to be in buildings that we get building permits for, and pass the building inspectors come out and inspect them, so that it's one of the weirdnesses of building a monastery in the West. But it's actually, I mean, one of the things that it does do is require us to build structures that really last, which is good. It's of benefit for a long period of time. But being able to, I remember, was it one of the dwelling places I lived in, I think it was my second year at Wat Nanachat, was just a grass roof. It's kind of grass roof, kind of thatch on top, very, very basic, very simple. And then kind of grass roof on the sides. Door was just another grass roof thing. Oh, it was bamboo that was plated, and it was tied so you could kind of lift it open and lift it shut. But it was a door, and then there was no actual floors, or earthen floor, and it was just like a wooden platform to sleep on, and hang up the mosquito net and be able to protect from the bugs. And that was plenty. It was fine. When you're living in a tropical climate, you don't have to protect yourself from the elements so much. Keep the rain off is certainly a thing. And if you know how to use those mosquito nets, and you can keep the various creepy crawlies from coming in as well. I mean, you have to learn that, or you learn that pretty quick, because it's. Remember one of the earliest days of being at Wat Pah Pong, I'd only just recently got there, and I was having a bit of a midday nap. It's on my porch, and I was just kind of laying down and not under anything or with anything around me, and because I just wanted to have a quick rest and just have a bit of I didn't want to really fall into too deep a sleep, so I was just on the porch, kind of laid down on the side, and then I hadn't laid down very long, and then bang, something really painful, and I just was falling asleep, and then bang, it was really painful. I got up and looked around, and what the heck is that? I had no idea what it was. And so I laid back down again, and bang, it was coming further up my leg, and I started, anyway, it was a scorpion. My head was just and it was crawling up my leg and stinging me as it was going up. So it's just having something simple like a mosquito net. You tuck it in, and you can protect yourself from the bugs. You've got a mat. You tuck it in, and then they can't get in. I hadn't learned that yet. You learn these things pretty quick when you. So but that simplicity and that commitment to a clarity of integrity of how we live this life. It's such an important aspect. So I will formally point these things out to you, and then you can acknowledge each one by one as I go through them. Anunyasiko bhagava upasampadetava jataro nisaye jatare jakarniyani ajikitung Pindialo pabojanang nisaya papaja tatateya vajivang usaho karatniyo adi rekalambo sangapatang udesapatang nimandanang salakapatang pakikang uposatikang patipatikang pangsakula jivarang nisaya papaja tatateya vajivang usaho karatniyo Adi rekalambo komang kapasikang kosayang kambalang sanang banggang Rokamula senasanang nisaya papaja tatateya vajivang usaho karatniyo Adi rekalambo viharo adiyogo pasado hamiyang guha Puti muta besa jang saya papaja tatateya vajivang usaho karatniyo adi rekalabo sapi nawani tang telang madupanitang Upasambanena bhikkhuna metuno dhammo na patisevitabo annamaso tiracha nagatayapi yo bhikkhu metunang dhammang patisevate asamano hote asakya puttiyo sayatapi nama purisosi sachino abambo tena sarira bandhanena jivitung Evameva bhikkhu metunang dhammang bhatti sevitva asamano hoti asakya puttiyo tante avajivang akaraniyang
Bhante.
Opat sambanena bhikkhuna dinang thaya sankadang na adatabang annamaso tina salakang upandaya Yo bhikkhu padang va padarahang va hadireka patang va adinang thaya sankadang adiyate asamano hoti asakya puttiyo sayathapi nama pandu palaso bandana pamuto ababbo haritataya Evameva bhikkhu padang va padarahang va adireka patang va dinang thaya sankatang adiyatava asamano hoti asakya puttiyo tante avajivang akalaniyang
Bhante.
Upat sambanena bhikkhuna sanchicha pano jivitana vorapetabo annamaso kuntaki pilikang upandaya yo bhikkhu sanchicha manusa vigahang jivita vorapete annamaso gabapatanang upandaya asamano hote asakya puttiyo Sayatapi nama puttu sila dvinda binna pati sandika hote Evameva bhikkhu sanchicha manusa vigahang jivita Varopetva asamano hote asakya puttiyo tante avajivang karaniyang
Bhante.
Upat sambanena bhikkhuna uttari manusa dhammo na ullapitabo Annamaso sunyakare habiramami iti Yo bhikkhu papi choe cha pakato sandhang aputang uttari manusa dhammang ulapati Khanang va vimokang va samadhing va samapating va magang va phalang va asamano hoti asakya puttiyo sayathapi nama Talo mata kachino bambo punavilulhiya Evameva bhikkhu papi cho echa pakato asandhang aputang Uttari manusa dhammang ulapitava asamano hoti asakya puttiyo Tante avajivang akaraniyang
Bhante.
Aneka paryayena kopanatena bhagavata Chanata pasata arahata samma sambuddhena silang samadakatang samadhi samadakato panya samadakata yavadeva dhasa nimandanasa pipasa vanayasa alaya samukathasa vatu panchedhasa tanhakayasa Viragasa nirodasa nibbhanasa sachikiriyaya tata sila paribhavito samadhi mahapalo hoti mahanisangso samadhi paribhavita panya mahapala hoti mahanisangsa panya paribhavitang cittang samadeva asavehi vimujjate sayadidang Gama sava bhava sava havijha sava tasmatiyate masaming tathagata pavedite dhammavanaye sakachang nadi sila sika sikitaba nadi citta sika sikitaba nadi panya sika sikitaba tata apamadena sampadetabhang Okay, so the next thing is you could bow to the preceptor and then do the final recitation of respectful gestures.
Okasa Vandami Bante Sabang Aparadang Kamata Me Bante Maya Katang Punyan Samina Anumoditabang Samina Katang Punyan Maihang Databang Sadhu Sadhu Anumodami.
Okay, sadhu. Please. Okay, so that completes the ceremony, and say as the instruction at the end sort of wraps up what I chanted, say. So now when moral conduct, sila, or virtue, integrity, now when moral conduct is thoroughly developed, concentration is of great fruit, of great advantage. So the samadhi, that settling of the mind, is of great fruit and great advantage. When concentration, samadhi, is thoroughly developed, discernment, wisdom, is of great fruit, of great advantage. When discernment is thoroughly developed, the heart is freed completely from the asava, the outflow of sensuality, the outflow of becoming, the outflow of unknowing, avijja. So having prepared yourself in this doctrine and discipline made known by the Tathagata, you are to train yourself with the training in heightened virtue, with the training in heightened consciousness, with the training in heightened discernment. Thus, with diligence, you should strive. So it's a beautiful kind of admonition or wrapping up of the whole point of what we're doing, and to just picking up this training and all of its elements of the aspects of say virtue, integrity, cultivation of mindfulness, and settling the heart, stilling the heart, allowing it to become clear, and reflecting, investigating what are the ways to see with wisdom, see with discernment, understand with discernment. And that very last line, thus with diligence you should strive, is actually that's right. I was actually Ajahn Mahaprasad said that yesterday, and it's the last words of the Buddha. I would say apamadena sampadeta. So that sense of apamada, heedfulness, being very heedful, diligent, clear, circumspect is a good way. So cultivating this life in a circumspect way. So just express my delight that you are here and now fully ordained as a bhikkhu, and that your family made the effort to come. It's great that you're here to witness it and to see it, and all the rest of the lay community who have joined together to witness this, and to it's like an offering of I think the word anumotana is a word. It's like a Buddhist jargon word. That is, but what it means is to delight in the goodness that's been done. And so this is worthy of anumodana and the goodness that is being done. So we could wrap this up by the Sangha chanting a blessing, sort of our blessings to Yasa Bhikkhu, and then to also chant the sharing of blessings. Sammaroga vinimoto sambasanda bhavajindo sambhave Nirmudo jatava bhavasapeteyo viva jandu samarogo vinasandumate bhavadvandalayo sukhideka yuko bhavahambivadanasili sanechango tapachayino cha Dalo Dhammavada Jayayavano Sukhang Mahalang Soatalando Sukito Vilulho Bunda Sasane Aroko Sukito Ho Hisahasambe Ninyati Piso Atalando Sukito Vilulho Bunda Sasane Haro Go Sukito Ho Hisahasambe Ninyati Piso Atalando Sukito Haloko Sukito Ho Hisahasambe Hinyatipi Mina Punyakame Nahupanjaya Gunutala Achaleyo Paka Tapita Janyataka Jayenda Jalokapala Vatayamo Meta Manusa Chamajata Verika Pichasabe Sata Suki Hondu Punya Nipakata Nime Sukanja Devedande Duke Pang Papetam Vomata Himina Punya Kame Na himina hundise na chake paha Sulabe che vatan ho pada Na chetanang ye sandhane hi na dhamma Yavanimba na to mama Na sandu sambanda ye vaya Tajato bhave bhave Uchu cetang sati panya saleko Viliyamina malala bandhuno ka sanghatu Javiliye sume bundadi Tavalo nato dhammo nato Valutamo nato pace Kambuto ca sango nato Taro mamang te so dhamma Nubhave namaro kasa lubandhuma. Okay, we could pay respects to the shrine. Araham Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavanha Abhivadhemi. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhamman Namassami Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Okay, thank you all.
Just a brief announcement, there is evening puja tonight, just to commemorate Luang Por Cha. The Dhamma talk will just be